Some of you call it computer-supported collaborative work. There are several names, but the idea is to collaborate over distance, not just video teleconferencing and talking heads, but to actually interact with your data. So the first group is actually a group I'm with, and this is the SAGE group, and this is a joint program between University of Hawaii and Jason Lee, and University of Illinois at Chicago with Luke Renenboe, and I may make a surprise appearance. So go ahead, guys, talk about SAGE2.
We can put these down here. So we actually were asked to do a demo, but we hadn't planned it, so we're sort of going to not do, am going to do a demo.
Still have 20 minutes.
So, but we still have 20 minutes. So on the side here, Luke is going to be helping me drive the presentation. So you get a sort of a demo while not doing a demo. So we're going to tell you a little bit about SAGE2. Really, it's an update of what we've done so far.
Can everybody hear Jason?
Everyone good? Okay. So just as, again, introductions, this is a joint project between University of Hawaii at Manoa and Electronic Visualization Lab. I was previously director of that lab until Maxime took over and killed me. No, just kidding. So now I'm director of the lab in Hawaii, and we are still close collaborators. Next slide.
And you're warmer.
And we're warmer, much warmer. And I don't have to shovel snow anymore, my God. So SAGE has been funded for a very long time, actually, from National Science Foundation, for over 10 years now. And it continues to receive funding from not just National Science Foundation, but now, more recently, the Academy for Creative Media in Hawaii, which is building collaboration systems on the various islands in Hawaii to empower students there to get into the creative media business. So, for those of you who are new and haven't seen or heard about SAGE2 before, we have a little quick video to give you a brief introduction.
Software we developed 10 years ago that allowed teams of users to manage information in rooms covered with displays as if it were one seamless canvas. The goal was to make it possible for people to look at large amounts of information and to come to conclusions with greater speed, accuracy, comprehensiveness, and confidence. With funding from the National Science Foundation in 2008, we were able to help over 100 institutions around the world build their display walls using SAGE. SAGE2, the scalable amplified group environment, is the next generation of the SAGE software, rewritten from the ground up using new and emerging technologies. The user interface has been completely redesigned to make it easier and faster for users to work on very large display walls. We have replaced traditional desktop monitors with high-resolution SAGE2 displays. Now you can have your own SAGE2 wall in your office or even in your home. The new interface emphasizes transportable interfaces rather than stationary interfaces. You can control SAGE2 from anywhere in the room or even remotely. You can manipulate information simply by using your web browser. You can drag and drop documents into the browser to send them to the wall. Once they're on the wall, you can move them around freely. You can also point and interact with information on the wall. In fact, several people can interact with the wall at any one time. It's completely democratic. You can push laptop windows or even entire laptop screens onto the wall, all via the browser interface. SAGE2 display walls can collaborate and send documents between one another by simply dragging and dropping. You can also mirror documents and their arrangement between walls. Remote viewers can follow your on-screen actions and interact with the data in real time. While the first SAGE was written in C++, SAGE2 is written entirely in JavaScript. In fact, by using JavaScript, the SAGE2 display wall simply runs inside several synchronized Chrome web browsers. We have developed a small JavaScript toolkit to let you modify your applications to also work seamlessly across multiple displays. SAGE2 even accommodates 3D WebGL applications. SAGE2 will make it easier to deploy large information display walls and develop new applications for them in the future. The applications for this new data-intensive way of working are potentially limitless.
Okay. So next slide. So where we are with SAGE2 deployment is that every year we've been growing a number of sites that have installed walls. These are a number of them, just the newer ones, and this year we've had 55 sites come on installing SAGE2. And then if we were to look at the trends since SAGE1 emerged, thanks to continual funding from National Science Foundation and other groups, we're seeing a very strong, steady increase of remote sites. A lot of it is driven by the fact that we can now drive these SAGE walls with just a single computer rather than a giant cluster of computers, and we're using JavaScript, which makes it web-based and much easier to deploy. And so, what we want to tell you a little bit about is, finally, SAGE2 version 1. A year ago, we were in beta. We decided to name the first version of it Ko'olau. These are the mountain ranges in Oahu. For those of you who've seen, I figured you guys must have seen since you're a movie crowd, Jurassic Park or Pearl Harbor. Those mountain ranges in Jurassic Park, which kind of look like that. Actually, Luke has an even bigger one. Those are the Ko'olau Mountains. And part of the reason for choosing them is that in Hawaii, when it rains really hard, this is what the Ko'olaus look like. Literally dozens of waterfalls, all raining, all falling simultaneously. It's a wonderful sight. And that's the kind of idea we want to promote with SAGE2 and this new architecture, that these waterfalls are essentially what's nourishing the island to allow it to be so lush and green. And so these waterfalls are essentially the developers who are going to be adding new capabilities into SAGE2. So it seems like a good poetic start. So with that, I'm going to let Luke talk about all these new features.
Okay, thank you. So in fact, we looked at the downloads and who was using SAGE2 so far, and there was a lot of people who were using Windows, in fact. So we focused a lot of effort trying to make the installation really, really easy in that first version. So it's at least for Windows, and the source code is exactly the same whatever the platform you use, but for Windows it's really easy. You download, you have a self-extracting zip file, so you just double-click it and install. And the only thing you have to install is beforehand is Chrome, so you just need Chrome installed, and that's it. All the rest is taken care of for you. And for Mac, Mac and Linux, it's just a little bit more developer-friendly, but we are working on the other platform also. So it comes with a launcher that you see the picture there on the side that lets you start and stop Sage with just a button. There's some password protection to only allow admin users to start a session. We have a meeting participation ID or some kind of login ID for that specific meeting that you can set very easily. It's like when you join a phone call, you have to type in the conference number for that conference you want to join. So you can set up very quickly, and that's been asked to us a lot just for things like classes and meetings and so on, when you want to set up a protection, even if it's not high-end security, it's enough just to keep people out and very, very quickly to do. We work on shared application synchronization, so meaning that now if you share an application with a remote site, it's going to be fully synchronized. So it's as simple as you share a PDF document, when you navigate through the document, it's going to be shared and synchronized across all the sites. So if you go to page 2, the remote site is going to see page 2 as well. And that works across all the applications. So all the state of the application are shared and synchronized across various sites. We worked a lot on, in fact, somebody from the community worked on WebGL support to improve and make WebGL much faster now. We have 3D image support, so if you have a 3D camera that takes, for instance, left-right image at once, we can display them on passive polarized display very easily. And we are working on, one student is working on automatic user interface sizing, because not everybody has a wall of that size. So there's a flag in the configuration, you can say, calculate the size of the widget and the text and so on. And based on based on the resolution, the size of the display, and the preferred viewing distance, the system is going to scale the user interface element for you automatically. So yeah, that's pretty useful. Next, so we worked a lot on the user interface. That you can still see my laptop over there with the user interface and the file manager. So now you can basically organize all your assets directly from the web browser. You can create folders, move the asset, delete assets, see the session that you saved. So for instance, for this presentation, we work offline in the corridor, and we just uploaded all our assets, created a folder, and organized the way we wanted it. And then you can navigate through here. I can, for instance, I'm in the image folder, and you can see I can see all the image characteristics. I can see the thumbnails and so on. And the same thing for the not the same thing, but we also work on the mobile interface. So I don't know if I click here, you can see now that's basically a mobile pointer that you get on your iPhone or iPad, and you have very, very basic functionality. So you can see Jason's pointer over there, and you can do only a few things. You can move windows, you can resize window, and you can switch the interaction mode to do some operation. For instance, if you are in Google Maps, you could navigate through Google Maps. So it means you can interact with the application and not just with the window placement and sizing. And there is just one basic key implemented with space bar that lets you navigate through a PDF or play and pause a movie very, very quickly without having mostly to think about it. It's a very, very common, basically, interaction patterns are coded there. So another thing that people ask a lot is being able to manage various folders for the asset that you upload to SAGE2. And so now you can have multiple folders that contain assets on the server that runs SAGE2, and you can organize that the way you want. But you can also map it, since you can map it to a shared cloud folder. Basically, if somebody logged in on the machine, logged in on Dropbox or Box or Google Drive or whatever system you want, it maps into a folder into your machine, and then you can tell Sage, use that folder to store all the assets. So now if somebody drags a PDF into SAGE2, that PDF goes directly into the Dropbox folder, and everybody in the room, for instance, would have access directly to the files. And so yes, basically, as long as it's a folder mounted into your system, it can be used as a SAGE2 folder. So it could be Dropbox or whatever NFS mounted file system, whatever you want, basically. And you can have many folders as you want now. So we also worked on the documentation. So there's a manual for installation and for the configuration. They're still work in progress. They're not perfect. So if you see problems, just let us know, or something doesn't work, or let us know. We're constantly trying to revise them. And a student at Hawaii, for instance, also made a series of tutorial videos on how to use SAGE2. Really, the super basic steps to start a collaboration session. So how to start Sage, how to start a pointer, how to push a document onto the wall. And so we're going to show you just one of those little videos. Okay.
A little video displayed really large.
Yes. Let me close this one. Okay.
Hi, I'm Noel.
And I'm Nicole, and we're going to show you how to start SAGE2. If you are the meeting host, SAGE2 needs to be launched. First, open up the Chrome browser. Navigate to the SAGE2 wall, but add the port number using :9001. A password from the administrator is needed to access the web controller. From here, the SAGE2 display can be launched using the Start button. A confirmation dialog will be displayed.
Now that SAGE2 has been launched, your meeting attendees can connect to it from the Chrome browser on their laptops. The address is visible on the top leftmost display. type that address into a Chrome browser to access the SAGE2 interface. If you encounter this screen, the SAGE2 wall does not have valid security certificates. SAGE2 can still be accessed by clicking on Advanced and then Proceed.
Access to SAGE2 can be restricted. On the web control page, a meeting ID can be set. This will require everyone to input the ID before being able to access the interface. After the ID is set, a restart is necessary before it takes effect.
Now, when I try to access the SAGE2 interface, I get a meeting ID prompt. By entering the specified meeting ID, I can now access the SAGE2 interface. And that's all it takes to launch and connect to SAGE2.
Thank you for watching.
Mahalo.
So the user interface even already changed a little bit since this summer. That was shot this summer, but the functionality is exactly the same. And so I think there's 6 or 7 of them online on the SAGE website or on YouTube. Both there for you to check. So that was it. And then Maxine will talk about some use cases of SAGE2.
Okay, very briefly, just to give you some examples of how people are using SAGE2. The first will be an example from the University of Illinois Chicago. Go ahead. In the pathology department, they wanted to have a conference with, so the pathology department runs a clinical informatics program. So they have resident doctors that are studying for 2 years to become specialists in pathology. And there's 13 of these fellowship programs throughout the United States. So they want to have a conference among 13 sites, but many people per site. So what they did, if there's more than 15 people logging into Google Hangouts, you can't do it. It kicks you off if you have an academic use license. So what they did is so many people could log on, not just many people per site. So they used a SAGE wall. They pointed a camera there. They pointed it at 15 people logged on to Google Hangouts, but the rest logged on to YouTube. And Hangout on Air broadcasts your Google Hangout session to YouTube. So people watched YouTube, and they created a Google Docs that's like a chat room so people could ask questions and answer questions. Okay, next. We want to thank our friends in Brazil. There are about 11 sites in Brazil that are all running SAGE2, and luckily the burden of helping everybody it was absorbed by RNP, their national network, and the University of Sao Paulo. So they ran a couple months ago an Install Fest, and they had, some of you were probably there, they had people from all over, from the sites in Brazil come to one place, and they all learned how to install and work with SAGE2. And this is Fernando. He's the expert in Brazil, and we're happy to help him, and he helps everybody else. Okay, next. All right, Osaka University in Japan, they are using, they were big users of SAGE, and now they are users of SAGE2. And here's an example of remote lectures between Osaka University and Tohoku University. And so Shinji Shimojo-san, who is the head of the Cyber Media Center, he appreciates and thanks us for SAGE2 as a communications device. And then last, this is a little movie done by people in the Czech Republic about a mobile interface they've created for SAGE2. It's a work in progress. It's not ready for distribution yet. I think the you're traveling and you only have a smartphone or a tablet, this at least lets you log on to a big wall and interact with each application that's on the wall. And so it's a way for people to stay in touch when they don't have access to tile display walls. Okay, I think that's it for me. Back to Luke.
Okay. So now that we have, we think, a fairly solid base for SAGE2, I think the core is not changing so much anymore. So we are really looking forward now to the future and trying to extend and make it more usable for a wider community. So the first thing we are going to do probably is trying to make some kind of app store. I know a few people around here are already developing applications for SAGE2, and so the problem becomes how do I share that? And so probably we'll build a website that would let you upload application and people would retrieve applications. Since it's just JavaScript, you could download a zip file containing the whole application, just drop it onto your wall and you will get the application. So we let you know that on the forum when that's available. And then there's, since SAGE2 is all JavaScript, mostly it's all JavaScript, there's so many JavaScript toolkits available now. For every domain science there's a JavaScript toolkit that people are using, developing, and sometimes there are many for a single domain. And so here's a list of things we want to look at, and maybe some of you are looking at them already, and let us know what you're using. But for instance, bioinformatics, there's various packages like bio.js, Cytoscape, and Emperor. Here is developed here at UCSD, for instance. Chemistry has their own packages. Geoscience, there's a whole variety of packages now to do, basically visualize geospatial data on a sphere, basically. So there's Cesium.js, WebGL, and OpenLayers, and so on. There are many of them. For information visualization, probably the main one is D3. D3.js is used everywhere these days, and almost any class in InfoVis these days is using D3, but there's many variations built on either on top of D3 or parallel to D3. There's a scientific visualization community that we want to address too, for things like PowerView as a web portal for the scientific visualization package, and things like IPython and Jupyter. Like basically the new lab book for the scientists. As I understand, Jupyter basically would be the perfect fit here to be able to show your Jupyter notebook and push it to the wall and see all your data in glorious resolution. And for networking, for instance, there's also a series of packages. And if there's not a package, usually there's an API to retrieve either JSON data and parse it and visualize that on the wall. A few things we've been working on also are shared portals. So right now what is supported in V1 is shared application. So if I share an application and drop it into the button you see on top of it, if it's red, it means the remote site is active, it's running SAGE2. If it's red, it's offline, sorry, and if it's green, it's actually running. So I could share application, for instance, here with Chicago. But that's just a fire and forget, almost. You send the application and you don't know where it's located, you don't know what they are doing, you don't see their pointers and so on. And that's what we're trying to address with the shared portals, where you can create basically a rectangle that maps a shared portion on each wall. So, and then you can share application and see a remote pointer and so on. Other thing we're working on in post-it and annotation, everybody wants to do that.